be really clear. I'm going to frame it up tight, clean, and easy. Simplicity has to be informed in relationship. Without the prophetic presence of Christ in our friendships and relationships with people who are poor, we will make simplicity complicated. We'll make it complex. We'll make it something about flexing our spirituality, tidying up our image, sort of scooting resources, possessions to the side to make it look like we live into an austerity, but that's not simplicity. Thomas Keating, the Cistercian monk who reinvigorated the church with contemplative prayer practices, talks about how monks in his monastery try to outfast each other, right? It becomes a form of spiritual pride, doesn't it? You're doing something good for the wrong reasons, and suddenly it's all wasted. Without the prophetic presence of Christ in our life, in relationships with friends who are poor, we will mess simplicity up. And we'll flex our spiritual muscles, and we'll waste all the sacrifices that we think we're making for the right reasons. Because simplicity for simplicity's sake is legalism. Simplicity is a discovery. Simplicity is a celebration, and simplicity is a grace. And so a discovery. John Wesley. Hopefully you all know who John Wesley is, but if you don't know, he helped inspire the Methodist Church, becoming initially a movement and now an institution. Wesley had... That's an observation, not a judgment. Really. Wesley had been shopping one afternoon, buying frames for some pictures that he was going to hang in his home. And after he came back from shopping and hung everything up in his house, there was a knock at his door, and it was a little woman holding a child. It was freezing cold outside, and this one was obviously hungry, going door to door begging. John Wesley put his hand in his pocket, and he hardly had any change after his day out at the market, and so he gave her what little he had left and sent her on her way. As he closed the door, he fell to his knees, and he looked at what was on his walls and felt that it was an indictment against him, and suddenly realized that the plunder of the poor that we hear about in Isaiah 3 was in his house, that this was for her, and he had misappropriated it. Could spin it on himself, mistaking it as personal provision when it was supposed to be for someone else. And so at that point, there was a reckoning that he made with God, and Wesley, I don't know if this is theologically correct to do or not, but made a wager with God and determined that to live simply, to live honorably, to live a life that would reflect respect for his friends who are poor, he only needed 28 British pounds a year. And so that first year, he received 30 pounds. He lived off of 28, and he gave the other 2 to the poor. The second year, it was over 60. The third year, it was over 100. And by the end of his life, John Wesley's income was around 1,400 pounds, and he was still living off of 28. There was a commitment that he made, and none of it stuck to his hands, and so God could trust him with it. And I think for us, there needs to be a similar discovery. But I think for us, the only people that generally we know who are poor are people that we've gone to visit on short-term missions trips, in outreach or service opportunities. I think there needs to be a discovery of what community is. And I think in that discovery, that becomes an invitation to celebrating simplicity. And I say that because I think simplicity isn't what we hold, it's how we hold it. But I think we don't know how to hold things unless we're in relationship with people who can inform that, who can remind us that some of the things that we actually hold and actually how we're holding it is offensive to their realities.